All right, so I am going to do a quick screen capture again to do an eval as quickly and as simply as I can. I will say the eval is a little bit more complex than the treatment notes, but still fairly easy to get through. So I am on the scheduler right now, and to do this, I'm going to add a new patient. I'll do a quick add because I want to try doing a case that's not in so we can do it from scratch. The system will force you to gather certain information that you cannot move forward without getting. So I'm going to put myself in as a balance. I'm going to select that I am Aetna, and we'll see if it'll let me. Telephone number is required. Get started pretty quickly. So I don't have insurance yet activated. I'm going to open that up in a new tab. And what you'll see here is there's no insurance. And so this is where the front desk will have to enter in insurance information and apply it to the case so that I can actually be billed. But we're set up for an initial evaluation. Again, I don't have a case added. So we'll save it. We'll see if it'll let me start at least the eval. So again, I can right click, and I'm going to go to SOAP note. And then it's going to bring me to this menu here. I'm working currently on populating more templates, um, but we're going to use balance goals right now as our body part condition. So how this sets up is it actually defaults, if I hit preview, to some goals that I've started to create in the system. So these are goals related to general balance. So that's the template that we're going to use. And then um, what type of SOAP note do we want? So this is our eval template. This is where when we do kind of some collaborative work on building our different types, do we want a concussion eval? Do we want a falls risk senior eval? Some of that's already pre-done for us so we don't have to carry forward. We can change the type of note that it is over here, and then it'll change our templates down here. So we're going to go with basic balance and hit next step. And now daily notes. So this is like our flow sheet exercise worksheet. So I'm going to pick the vestibular exercises, and you'll see that it'll already populate some of the basic vestibular exercises. We can continue to build to this library too. And then all you need to do is check the ones that you use for treatment. So now instead of having that next button down here, I've got a save button. I click that, and that's going to now take me into my evaluation. So you can see because I picked that balance eval, I already have some codes checked, um, or some of the notes checked. So that's populated the actual eval already. I'm going to go ahead and clear that so we can show you what it looks like to start from scratch, because I may clear this out because this template is just me fiddling around the past couple days. So if you come into your node and it looks completely clear, I've got this yellow warning up here that says, hey, I don't have insurance assigned, so charges won't really go out. That's important to confirm with the front desk and make sure that we have the patient's record right. Everything is done by this library over here. So right now we're set to initial eval, and we're in the balance vestibular library. That means all of these findings in here are going to be all vestibular related in nature. So if I come in here, we got ringing and pressure in the ears. If I change this to upper extremity evaluation, the library is going to change, and I'm going to get uh, different questions to pull from related to an upper extremity evaluation than I would from a balance library. And then I can change which library I'm looking in by changing my report. Is this just a falls assessment? Is this my daily notes? is this a discharge report, it'll change what I can pull from over here. So we're going to just stick with the initial eval, and we're going to stick with balance eval. And now I've got nothing added, so I've got to start from scratch in this case. I pop open subjective, I pop open the present history, and I'm going to click this because this is the stem of my sentence, and I'm going to basically finish this sentence once I add it to my note. Primary complaint, I can check several things if I want to, and the note will add it. How did the event come on? I pick the things that I want here. What's the current level of function of the patient? So really, these are the current difficulties the patient's having. If there's things that you want to add, all you need to do is once you add one of these, you can put comma and continue to type, and you'll see how that comes into play. When I go to pain here, this is important for the PQRS. I was talking with West Palm Beach this morning, and I think I may rewrite some of how PQRS is done in the system because I'm not crazy about the standard method. You can get pain with movement as well. So if I click one of these, it's just going to add that score. I'd also have to click that I want to include a comment section on location, intensity, duration, and the intensity that they feel. So now we come back to like relieving factors of the patient's symptoms, what their prior level of function is worth. So here's independent with all essential and non-essential activities, or I can click other, and this will just give me a box to type in. You know, what's their home environment like, medical history. It's a lot of stuff, but when you go through and you start to know what you're looking for, you should be able to kind of hunt and find it. The other things are we can start to save these templates so we don't have to repeat these clicks every time. We can get kind of the big ones already checked and make small changes as we need to. So I've got my S's in. I can continue on and just start going onto my O, A, and P if I want to. But I'm going to show you what it looks like if I hit add. So now it populates this right-hand column. So these are where I can start to finish. The patient presents with history of uh, intermittent vertigo and spinning. Well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then have the primary complaint be vertigo down here. So let's change this to blacking out or something like that. And then it lists their primary complaints, level of function, and then here's this thing. So other, this is where I maybe come in and say patient has long-standing history of neuro, I can't type tonight. Something. You can get as creative here as you want or need to for your note on top of the basic pieces. So what it did is it created this subjective heading for me here as well. Even though it saved it when I brought all this information over, since I've made some changes, a good idea to hit the save button before going further. So outcome measures, so hey, maybe we did our DHI, and I'm going to click it, and it's going to input a field for me to put the score in. Go down to objective testing. Again, I'm going to work on cleaning these up a little bit because obviously we don't use the video goggles to do some of the tests that the other clinics are using that for. We've got our VNG, and then some of them fall into like our bedside screening. So I want to streamline these pieces a little bit for us. But say we're going to add in a 5 times sit to stand and a timed up and go, objective measures, and then my assessment. Again, this is another one of those stems that you're going to have to come back in and finish. Now, goals, I may hide because this isn't how they've recommended that we do goals in the system. There's another way to do goals. I think we still may be able to use this, but I'll show you the kind of preferred goal method that they cover in their video. Rehab potential, so pretty just simple, check which one you think it is. Plan comes with two pieces. Treatment's going to include the following things. Click all that apply, and then recommended frequency to the program, and then again you have a blank box if you want to just make up your own. You click it. If it's a Medicare case, here's where you can enter in which functional code you want to use. So we're going to talk about walking and moving around. Current status, maybe we're CJ, and our goal status is going to be CI. When I click these, it's now automatically going to populate those charges on the bill, so I don't need to worry about clicking my G codes later. I'm going to add these into the note, and when we come up to the top, now instead of just having subjective up here, we have all of the other headings that I've added. So if I want to look at just outcome measures, I can filter it. So, oh, here's my DHI. I'm going to put in my score. Move on to objectives. I'm going to put in my 5 times sit to stand score, and maybe my timed up and go in seconds. An assessment. So here's a really generic sentence that you want to go in and add much more of a clinical assessment based off of your findings. Switch over to rehab potential. I've got it. Plan. I've got some of those treatments to include, what my frequency is going to be. I've got my G codes in. So how do we put in the goal? Well, the goal is going to be right over here. So across these tabs, I'm going to hit save before we go, and I'm going to click goal. Goal is going to bring me up to a whole new window here. So what I've done is this is where I've started to write some template goals that we can go off of. What I did was I said, hey, we're going to improve the patient's FGA, and instead of the way it was done in our old system, I put in the minimally clinically important difference after speaking with a lot of staff members that wanted to see these things kind of work themselves into our note, is an 8-point change. So if the patient's initial score today is maybe a 13, then I'm going to set my target goal as a 21. And then current, I'm going to save for progress reports and things like that. And then also over here, I can change my impression of how that patient is progressing. Are we getting adequate progress? Are we going backwards? Did we meet our goal here? For this goal to actually become active, I've got to check this box, or else the goal won't work. And you won't have any goals in your note. So say we want all of these. We can check them all. How this works is if I don't want this goal, I'm going to check it here, and then I'm going to click the red X that's above it. So how it says delete selected treatment, it's going to delete the one that I have checked. If I hit the check box here, it will delete all of the goals. This one is a hide feature, so right next to it, if I click this, it will hide the goals that I don't want to show. Reason being is maybe on initial evaluation, I only want to start with these 2 goals. So I'm going to check these 2 to have them be hidden, and I'm going to hide them. Yes. Now I've only got these 2, and later I can unhide those goals by hitting the unhide button, and then they're back. And then I can add them in later. But remember, you've got to check your buttons here to keep them active. And then the only other thing that you're going to want to do if the patient is Medicare, we're going to fly over to the flow sheet. So here we picked that template for vestibular exercises. I've got a couple already in the template, services and shuttle. I'll continue to add some as I get the time to do so, and then you guys feel free to email me things that you think just need to be basically on every vestibular case, and then we'll build like a basic falls template and concussion template and any other things that we want to have kind of at our quick disposal. But I can go over to the create a new treatment plan tab, and I can pick PQRS. This was Medicare, and it's going to add a PQRS tab up here. So how they do PQRS in the system, first one that they touch on are falls. So this is just selecting the charges that you want to do for falls. They break it down into 4 different types of patients that you may see. You may see patient A, you may see patient B, you may see patient C, or you may see patient D. Tina from West Palm Beach is going to send me her flow sheet for how to pick which type of patient it is. So if you've completed a falls risk plan of care, or you've completed a falls assessment, you've completed a falls plan of care, and the patient is at falls risk, there's 3 codes that need to go with them. They combined them all here in the code A. So you're going to check, check, check. You don't need to worry about falls B, C, or D. These are the codes that you need. Maybe the person's not an A, they might be a B, then you're only going to check the 2 in that in B. Maybe that person's a C, they couldn't complete the falls testing today for some reason, but you do rate them as a falls risk, you're going to check these 3. It'll pick the appropriate codes for you. So I'll share you her cheat sheet when I get it, but that's how you pick your falls. If you keep going down, here's your pain. Now you treat it just like we did in our old system. You pick the appropriate pain code related to what your findings are. Medication code, you pick the appropriate medication code. So you're only going to have one pain. You're only going to have one med. You come down to BMI, you're only going to have one BMI. What I did with my note is I put their BMI over here in this notes field. But this is where I was saying I want to create a better thing in the actual evaluation note. And then the last thing, the functional outcome measure over here. When you save all of these, again, and you hit your save button, it will populate a charge based off of this flow sheet. So you won't need to enter your PQRS anywhere else than on right here. If I tried to do it right now, I'd add to this yellow warning up here that said, warning, this patient's not a Medicare, will not add the PQRS codes to this patient's case. So that's that. Once I've got all of that done, I can sign off on my note. And I'm gonna, let me hit stay on page and save first. So I'm signed off on my note. Now I can come over here and I can hit print note. Print note gives me a couple options. We're on a document type for an initial evaluation. We selected that in the template form earlier. Provider's signature, true or false. What this is if there's going to be a box for the doctor to sign. So if it's a case that I need the doctor to sign, I'm going to put true, and it'll put a box for the doctor to sign. My employee signature on here is going to be defaulted because I was the clinician that did the treatment note, but if for some reason multiple people were working on it and we want to change whose signature's on it, it would be there. Hide cert dates. So I'm going to refresh the report since I added the doctor's signature. Right here, it automatically puts a certification date in 90 days from today. So if I'm not a Medicare patient, I'm going to just tell it to hide the cert date. I'm going to update my report, and you're going to see that cert date is no longer here. If I am a Medicare patient and I want to leave that cert date on there, I'm going to keep the false box checked. And I'm going to maybe say, hey, this is only need to be 60 days. And we'll get a view report, and it'll refresh. Now it changed that date to only 60 days. Include case therapist. I'm not quite certain. I think you can add you can put it under one therapist, but have another therapist doing it, and that way it'll put both names on there. We have a print custom message on here, which I don't know what they've done for us from a custom messaging standpoint. But we'll just go ahead and leave that checked true for right now. So we can see the patient's information here at the top, um, what they're kind of here for. I don't have any diagnoses in. That's what that warning, yellow warning message was currently. So I'll go back and show you how to put a diagnosis code in. Here's the pieces that I checked in uh, my subjective piece. Okay, here's my outcome data. Here's my assessment that we didn't really write, and my rehab potential, and my plan, and my interventions, and my exercises, and the space for the doctors to sign here. Now, if I want to print this, I'm going to hit print report, and it'll pop open a new tab. And Blake and I are working on how we figure out how we are going to be faxing these out. We may do it electronically through the system uh, with the feature that they have, or we may have to save it, kind of like how we saved it to the Y drive, but in a different folder off the server now. So let's go back and let's add an ICD-10 code to my case and see if it'll let us do it, because I don't have insurance added. But up at the top right here where it says ICD-10 diagnoses, click it. Right now it's automatically preloaded balance because that's what we put in that I was being seen for. So if I scroll down, you can see that it gives me a big old list of balance codes. So maybe we've got unsteadiness on my feet. Go to page 2, and I've got dizziness. So if I add those codes, here we go. I can flip back and hit add diagnosis code if there's something else. If I've got back pain, I can switch to lumbar and refresh. Then I can go through some back stuff. So maybe I've got right-sided sciatica, and I can add that code here, and then it'll flip that back. Save that. And now when I print my notes, I've got those codes up at the top. If I print exercise log, we don't have anything in. And if I print flow sheet, we didn't put any treatments in, so we don't have that. What I don't know is why the goals didn't save. So let me unsign it and see if we can get an answer to that. None of them are checked, so let's check, and hit save this time, so we save them. Now if I go to print notes and go down, now we've got our goals in here. I didn't type the target and everything in there, so that's why that didn't show up. But this is what the goals box will also look like on the note. So we can build some short-term goals, we can build some long-term goals. We can just keep them as outcome goals and use the little library piece. Let me go back to it. Balance eval. These goals, where they're short-term goals, we can use some of these if we want some simple short-term goals in there, or again we can write our own goals. So if you want to write your own goal here, we're going to put the hey, short-term goals, and now I can just start to type whatever it is that I want, and then I'll hit add, and then we've got it listed here under the short-term goals. And that's really it for an eval. If you have to do any exercise, home exercise education, Epley maneuvers, things like that, just enter it over here as a treatment, and any additional objective notes that can't fit in the treatment notes can go over here as well. And that's all the good stuff. All right. Hope everybody enjoys getting ready for the new system on Monday.